Hello and welcome to the second video in a series of tutorials about Latin nouns. So if we remember the first tutorial, we spoke about some feminine nouns and we used our example of puella, and we spoke about some masculine nouns and we used our example of servus. And what we said was that nouns all had a case, so nominative or accusative or something else. We said they had a number, so singular or plural, and we said they had a gender. And so we looked at two cases. We looked at nominative, which is what these are, and we looked at accusative. And we said that puella becomes puellam, and we said that servus becomes servum. And this M ending is common to the singular accusative in all Latin nouns. So we've examined gender. These are feminine nouns, these are masculine nouns, and we've examined case. In this tutorial, we're going to move on and we're going to look at the plurals of these forms. Before we do that, though, let's introduce a little bit more of some technical vocabulary. Now, in Latin, we group together nouns, and we group together nouns normally on similar endings. Now, these groups are called declensions, because the way a noun changes is called the way it declines. That's just a technical word. So the group of them is called declensions. In Latin, there are 5 declensions, but for the time being, we're going to just look at 2 of them. So first of all, includes nouns like puella, which end in an A. So we'll put puella over here. And the second declension includes nouns like servus, which end in a US. Now, I should say that there are exceptions to these rules. So, for example, we know that puella is a feminine noun, and we know that most nouns ending in A are going to be feminine, but there are exceptions. So, for example, words that describe jobs, like agricola. This means farmer. This ends in an A, but is in fact a masculine noun. You have the same with nauta, which means sailor. So just watch out for words which describe jobs because they are the exceptions to this rule. Puella is feminine, but these two are masculine. It's the same with servus. Not all of them end in US in the second declension. You have words like puer, which means boy, or vir, which means man. These are both second declension. They take the same ending, so puer becomes puerum in the accusative, vir becomes virum in the accusative. That is an R, my V's and R's looks the same. And those are accusative. Sorry, no, those are second declension, but they decline in the accusative in the same way. Now, another feature of the second declension is that it also contains, while most of the nouns are masculine, it also contains some neuter words. Now, neuter is a third gender. It's the third of the 3 genders in Latin, and its endings form like templum. So templum, even though it's got this ending, so it looks accusative, is in fact neuter. Now the neuter ending for templum is just templum again. So neuter nouns are always the same in the nominative as they are in the accusative. So this is all the second declension. You've got your standard us words. You've got a couple of words like puer and vir, which don't have this standard us ending. And you've also got neuter nouns, which end in not always in but mostly but they are neuter nouns which are the same in the nominative as they are in the accusative. So those are our declensions, those are our exceptions. And if you don't understand that at all, write it in the comments section and I might explore this a little bit further. But otherwise, a quick rewatch of the past minute or so might just refresh your memory. So let's take a look at the plural forms of the first 2 declensions. So I'll get rid of the stuff we've got there at the moment. And so let's write out some tables more formally. So let's put 1 there and let's put 2 there for our declensions. And let's start with puella for our nominative. And let's put puellam for our accusative. And then we'll say servus, servum. Then let's take puer, which becomes puerum, and then let's take templum, which is the same in the accusative, templum. So those are our two declensions. Now, there are three more cases in Latin. You've got the genitive, you've got the dative, and you've got the ablative. But we're not going to worry about those for the time being. Those are more complicated cases that we'll introduce a bit later on. For the time being, we're going to concentrate on the nominative and the accusative, but this time in the plural. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with puella, and what happens to it is puella in the plural becomes puellae. Remember, we've got this stem and we just add a new ending onto it, which is I, A-E. And in the accusative plural, it is puellas. You may have noticed that the letter A occurs quite frequently. That's, yes, that is true. I don't know what the technical term for this is, but I call it the feminine letter. So for feminine nouns, and for first declension nouns even, because it's the same for agricola and nauta, etc., most of the terminations, the endings, are formed with an A. The masculine version of this is O, as we're about to see. So servus becomes servi, but in the accusative, like this as ending, we take the masculine letter and it becomes servos. Similarly, this E is the plural which gets put onto our stem. So we go to pueri for boys and pueros for boys in the accusative. Notice I'm saying os, that's because it's a long O. Now, neuter nouns are slightly different. Again, they're the same in the nominative as they are in the accusative. And what we do is we take the stem, which is temple, and then we add a, templa, temples. Okay, and there we go. Those are the nominative and accusative forms in the plural. Now, I should just make a quick point, because I forgot to mention it in the last video. Latin doesn't use articles. There is no word for the in Latin, okay? Latin just has these as part of its words. So pueri can mean boys, as in some boys, or the boys. There is no distinction between the two, like there is in English, like there is in the majority of other languages that are spoken in the modern day, and like there is in Greek. So let's, just to end this video, let's take a look at some quick examples of sentences. Now we know plural, singulars and plurals. So if we were to take the sentence puella, pueros, read it. Again, verbs will be a separate video, but this means saw. So the girl, because it's singular, and it's nominative because this a ending, saw, and we've got os, this os ending, if you remember, is plural and accusative. So the girl is doing the seeing of the boys. Another example, you could say servus, templar, amat. You might remember from the last video that this means loves. So we've got in the nominative, we've got this us ending. So the slave, then our verb, loves, and then templar. And remember, that could be nominative or accusative, but because we've already got a nominative noun, we just assume it's accusative. And we say the temples, or it could just be loves temples, because there is no the word in Latin. So there we are. Just to recap over what we've done so far, let's draw out the endings just one more time. So in the first declension, it's a in the nominative, am in the accusative, and then in the plural, it's I and as. Second declension for masculine nouns, it's us, then and then e and os. And for neuter, a. And that's an introduction to the plural in Latin nouns.